I stared at the conference room window, the blinds tilted just enough to give me a perfect view of my own betrayal. There he was, Thomas Wexler, my wife's father, the towering CEO of Wexler Solutions, gesturing animatedly to our biggest prospect ever, flipping through my slides, my diagrams, my architecture. The same presentation I'd built over a sleepless, caffeine-fueled week while his daughter, my wife, Camille, vanished for spa retreats and came home with excuses and eyes too heavy to be just tired. "You're not senior enough," he told me that morning, taking the USB from my hand like I was some intern fetching coffee instead of the guy who basically rebuilt his whole cloud architecture strategy from scratch. And now here I was, watching from my desk while he took credit in real time. Until it happened. The question. The one I knew the client would ask. "Can you explain how the cross-regional failover works without impacting the load balancer queue?" Silence. Thomas blinked. My wife, who sat beside him, shot a glance to the CTO, who looked just as lost. Because I'd intentionally left that piece out. I'd warned them, told them during the drafts that it needed my voice to explain. But they thought they could ride on my work and leave me out of the room. Now? Now all eyes turned toward me literally. I could see through the glass. The client's eyes shifted toward my desk in the open office. Then Thomas turned, pale. Then Camille. She mouthed something. "Fix this. Fix this? Fix this?" I should have laughed. I should have gotten up, walked out, and let it all burn. But something in me, maybe pride, maybe stupid loyalty, stood up and walked in. The rest of the meeting was a blur. I crushed the question. Delivered the answer clean, concise, and perfect. The client nodded. Camille smiled like she had coached me backstage. And Thomas? That bastard barely mumbled a thank you when they left. I didn't go back to my desk. I walked straight to the break room, locked the door, and just stood there, breathing. That's when the second betrayal hit. I opened Camille's iPad. She'd synced it with our iCloud, but never updated the password when she started using Face ID. I didn't even mean to snoop. I just wanted to watch something. But the Messages app was open, and the last chat wasn't mine. "Let's do something wild after this fake presentation thing," it said. From a contact named High Voltage Nate. "Don't text back high voltage." My blood iced. Camille replied. "Still thinking about last night. You're way more exciting than my junior coder husband. See you after daddy's done playing CEO." Junior coder. She actually said that. That's what I was now? A joke? I scrolled higher. There were pictures. Not of them together, but suggestive enough. Clothes on the floor. Her legs curled on hotel sheets. Champagne bottles. Emoji after emoji, some censored in the system, but the intent so clear it made me feel sick. And the worst part? The last message. "Can't wait to see your face when he finds out." Face with tears of joy. That was my wife. The woman I built a life with. And she was planning a joke. On me. I looked in the mirror above the sink, and for the first time, I didn't recognize the man looking back. But I knew one thing, this wouldn't be a joke for long. I walked out of that break room like something inside me had cracked open and wasn't going to close again. The office noise blurred into nothing, phones ringing, keyboards clacking, people whispering about how I'd saved the pitch. None of it mattered anymore. I didn't go back to my desk. I went straight home. Early. Which was rare enough to be suspicious on its own. Camille wasn't expecting me, and I wasn't trying to be subtle. I slammed the front door harder than I meant to, let my keys clatter against the counter like gunshots. Silence. Then a voice from upstairs. "Babe, you're home already." She sounded so casual. Like everything was normal. Like she hadn't just demolished my dignity in a text thread with some sleazeball named Nate. I didn't answer. She came down the stairs wearing one of those expensive silk robes she always reserved for after her me days. Her hair was wrapped in a towel. Her face, blank, like she was trying to figure out whether to smile or prepare for a fight. "I thought you had work," she said, still playing the part. Did something happen? I held up the iPad. Didn't say a word. Just tapped the screen once and let her see the messages. Her expression didn't change right away. She didn't gasp, didn't cry, didn't even pretend to act shocked. "Oh," she said. Just oh. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. Tossed her towel on the banister and folded her arms like this was all some minor inconvenience. "So what?" she said. "You're seriously going to throw a tantrum over a few texts?" "A few texts. A few texts." I repeated, stunned. "You called me a junior coder. You planned a night with someone else. You joked about how I'd react. Because you do overreact," she snapped. "You're like this sad little puppy who thinks if he works hard enough, people will finally respect him. You think saving that meeting today made you a hero? Please. My dad still thinks you're a joke. That did it. I felt something in me twist. Not rage. Not even heartbreak. Something colder. Something final. You cheated on me, I said. With Nate. She rolled her eyes. Oh my God, we didn't even do anything. Not that it's your business anyway. I moved closer. Not threatening, just firm. Controlled. Tell me the truth. She tilted her head. You really want to hear it? Yeah, I do. She shrugged. Fine. You know what? Yeah, we did. Multiple times. While you were building your precious little presentation. While you were proving yourself to my father. While you were downstairs, asleep on the couch because I told you I had migraines. Happy now? I stood there, jaw clenched. My hands trembling so subtly she couldn't even see it. But inside, a storm was brewing. Not of rage, but of strategy. She walked past me, brushing my shoulder with hers like I was some stranger in a crowded hallway. Grow up, she muttered. You'll get over it. Or don't. Just don't make this harder than it has to be. I turned and watched her walk toward the kitchen. Calm. Confident. Like she'd won something. Like all of this, our marriage, our home, everything, was just a disposable phase. That's when I knew. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to end this in a way she'd never see coming. Quiet. Precise. And permanent. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on the couch with a blanket that smelled like detergent and betrayal, my eyes locked on the ceiling as the hum of the refrigerator filled the silence. Camille was upstairs. Maybe texting him. Maybe dreaming about him. Maybe too proud of herself to care that her husband had just discovered everything. I stared into the dark and played the entire marriage in reverse. Our wedding. Her fake tears. The whispered promises. Her hand squeezing mine when I told her I finally got hired at Wexler Solutions. That job was supposed to be our next chapter. She said it was fate, me working for her father, proving them all wrong. Turns out, it was just convenience. I was a pawn. A disposable one. By the time the sun cracked through the curtains, I'd already decided what to do. I got dressed quietly and left before she woke up. I didn't leave a note. Didn't slam the door. I needed her to think everything was fine, or at least uncertain, for just one more day. At the office, Thomas was beaming. His usual smugness dialed up after the client sent over a contract worth 7 figures. Great work yesterday, he said, like he'd done anything more than steal my slides and sit there sweating. I nodded, smiled, and then dropped the first stone. I'll be requesting full author credit on the project in the follow-up report to the client, I said flatly. They specifically asked for my input. I think it's only fair they know who built the architecture. He blinked, paused. That's not how we typically do things, he said. I know, I replied. But your typical way doesn't include stealing intellectual property. So maybe we try something new. He didn't have an answer. Just stared, then mumbled something about revisiting the topic later. Too late. I walked straight to HR and filed a detailed report. Dates, files, screenshots, timestamps, names. I didn't stop there. I'd already sent a discreet message to the client explaining that I was the technical lead and had been excluded from the room against protocol. Their response? That explains a lot. We had questions only you answered. By noon, Camille messaged me. Camille, why is Dad freaking out about you? What did you do? I ignored it. By evening, she was calling. I let it ring. Let her wonder. Then I went home. She was waiting at the kitchen table, her phone clenched in her hand, face twisted into that blend of panic and fury she usually reserved for missing packages or split ends. What the hell are you doing? She barked. I told the truth, I said. To your dad. To the client. About everything. Her eyes narrowed. You're trying to ruin him? No, I said, pulling up a chair across from her. I'm just not letting him ruin me. She laughed again. That awful, mocking laugh that scraped my nerves raw. You think anyone cares? You think the company's going to take your side over Thomas Wexler's? God, you really are naive. I leaned in slightly. Funny thing about truth. It tends to outlive people like him. There was a flicker of doubt behind her eyes then. A twitch of her jaw. She didn't know how much I'd already done. She didn't know about the backup emails I'd sent to legal, the NDA violations, the private Slack chats I had archived. She underestimated me. Again, she stood up, pacing, her robe sliding slightly off her shoulder. No longer seductive, just pathetic. This doesn't change anything, she snapped. You're still nobody. Maybe, I said quietly, but I'm not your fool anymore. She turned to face me. Fine. You want a divorce? Go ahead. But you're not getting a cent. My dad will make sure of that. I smiled. I don't want your money, I said. I want peace. Something you don't even recognize anymore. And then I walked away. Upstairs. To the guest room. Closed the door. And for the first time in months, I slept. The next morning was different. There was no silent tension, no fake kiss on the cheek, no pretending. Camille was already gone by the time I got up. I found a note on the kitchen counter, folded in half and written in her favorite gel pen like she was still in high school. No greeting. Just, "You're making a huge mistake. Don't burn bridges you'll need to crawl back over later." I read it twice. Smiled. Tore it into 4 clean strips and dropped it into the sink. I didn't go to the office that day. I went to a lawyer. A good one. She came recommended by a friend who had survived a brutal split and left with both his house and his spine intact. Her name was Rachel Keene, and the second I told her who my father-in-law was, she smirked. "I've been waiting for a client like you." Within hours, we were building a timeline. Camille's infidelity. My role at the company. The hostile work environment. The intellectual theft. Every screenshot, email, Slack message, I gave it all to her. And then I went back home. Camille was waiting for me again. This time standing in the doorway like a bouncer at some exclusive club. One I no longer wanted access to. "You skipped work," she said, arms crossed. "That's not a great look after yesterday." I wasn't fired, I replied calmly. And I had better things to do. She raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" "Try to HR some more." "Actually," I said, brushing past her, "I met with a lawyer." Her face changed like a curtain being yanked open mid-scene. Panic, confusion, anger, all flashing in 1 second. "You're kidding," she said. "You're seriously lawyering up?" I dropped my keys in the bowl and turned around slowly. "You slept with another man while married to me. You laughed about it. You called me a joke. You helped your dad erase me from the biggest moment of my career. And you're shocked I went to a lawyer." Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. She tried again. "This is overreacting, Adam." "No," I said. "This is finally reacting." She didn't follow me up the stairs this time. Didn't slam any doors or scream. She was running out of ground. And I think she finally felt it. By the end of that week, HR had launched an internal review. The client requested a renegotiation, with me as the primary tech liaison. Thomas was taking a leave of absence, and I was moved to another department under a different exec. Quietly, but respectfully. Camille didn't come home 2 nights in a row. I didn't ask where she was. I didn't care. The last time we spoke as husband and wife, she didn't even try to apologize. She just said, "You're really going to ruin everything over one mistake?" I looked her straight in the eye and said, "No, you did that. I'm just refusing to clean up after it." She left. And this time, I didn't wait up. The divorce papers were ready within 2 weeks. Rachel moved fast, laser-focused, precise, and without mercy. Just the way I needed her to be. Camille got served on a Thursday morning at her new downtown loft. I hadn't asked where she moved, but I knew it was Nate's place. A coworker casually mentioned they saw her car there at 2 a.m. a few days after she stormed out. She didn't text me after getting the papers. Not right away. But Nate did. It was a single message on LinkedIn of all places. "You could have taken the L quietly. Now you look petty." I stared at it for a full minute before replying. "Enjoy the leftovers." He blocked me. The next few weeks passed like scenes in a movie I didn't audition for. Meetings. Legal filings. My name being brought up in conversations I was never invited to before. The client that Thomas and Camille tried to steal? They wanted me flown out for a consultation. They'd been burned before by exec-level egos, and apparently I was refreshingly grounded. Funny what happens when you stop letting people walk all over you. Camille, meanwhile, went on a social media spree posting filtered selfies with captions like "healing energy only" and "new beginnings dizzy dot." Friends I hadn't heard from in years messaged to ask what happened. Some sent the posts. One even asked, "Is she okay?" "She's acting off." I didn't respond. Let her spin whatever version of the truth made her feel less like the villain. But inside, I knew something was shifting. Something she wasn't ready for. The day we met for the official division of assets, she showed up late. Of course, wearing sunglasses indoors, her hair perfectly done, like she was auditioning for sympathy. She didn't look at me until Rachel placed the documents between us. Camille scanned the pages, her fingers tapping against the table. "You're really taking the condo?" she asked. "I paid for it," I said flatly. "And I'm the only one who didn't treat it like a hotel." She looked up. Her mask cracked for just a moment. "And the car? You can keep it," I replied. "Consider it a parting gift. You'll need it when Nate realizes he didn't fall in love with a woman. He fell in love with revenge." Camille didn't speak again. She just signed. And when she left the building, she didn't look back. Rachel closed the folder and leaned toward me. "You just got your life back." I nodded. But deep down, I knew something she didn't. I wasn't just getting it back. I was rebuilding it. From scratch. And this time, no one was going to sit in my seat while I watched from behind glass. 3 months passed. People say time heals. It doesn't. It reveals. It shows you what you missed while you were blinded by love, obligation, or fear of starting over. It unmasks everything and everyone. Most of all, yourself. I moved into a smaller apartment, closer to the edge of town. Nothing fancy. Just quiet. Peaceful. Mine. No phantom perfume in the pillows. No arguments echoing in the hall. No passive-aggressive sticky notes about who forgot to buy oat milk. Every morning, I'd wake up, make black coffee, sit on the balcony, and stare at nothing in particular. I wasn't rushing anymore. I wasn't grinding to prove something to a woman who never respected me or a boss who only saw me as a disposable asset. And maybe that's what hurt the most, how long I stayed. Not the cheating. Not the lies. Not even Nate and his smug, flirty texts. But me. How much of myself I'd handed over, hoping to earn basic respect in return. Hoping she'd change. Hoping I'd matter more than her ego. But she didn't change. She got worse. Word reached me through a mutual friend. Camille and Nate weren't doing great. Apparently, once the thrill of sneaking around faded, they realized they had nothing in common. She wanted candlelit dinners and boardroom drama. He wanted power plays and someone to admire him, not compete with him. I didn't care. Okay, maybe I enjoyed hearing it, but I didn't need it. What I needed was to understand myself again. Who I was before Camille. Before Wexler Solutions. Before the constant pressure to be enough for people who never even tried to see me clearly. That clarity came faster than I expected. One afternoon, I was invited to speak at a small tech symposium, nothing huge, just a regional event with other developers and engineers. I almost declined, but something told me to go. I walked into the room, not in a suit, not trying to impress, just jeans, a clean shirt, and confidence. I spoke about failure, about betrayal in business, about how sometimes the most important innovation isn't in code, it's in finally deleting the corrupted file pretending to be your foundation. People clapped. People listened. And afterward, a woman approached me. Not Camille. Not someone like her. She wore no makeup. Carried a laptop covered in stickers. Had calluses on her fingertips and asked questions no one else had thought of. We talked for 2 hours. Then we got coffee. No expectations. No wait. Just connection. I didn't know where it would go. But for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid to find out. I was just free. A week after the symposium, I received an email. Subject line. Lunch. It was from her, Harper, the woman with sticker-covered tech and eyes that didn't wander over your shoulder while you spoke. She said she'd been thinking about our conversation, about the way I described rebuilding after betrayal like refactoring bad code. She wrote, "I think we both know how to break things down. Maybe now's the time we learn how to build them up." I smiled at the screen longer than I should have. We met again. Then again. She wasn't dramatic. She didn't play games. She didn't need me to be anything other than present. There was no checklist. No resume of romantic history. Just laughter. Curiosity. Honesty. I wasn't used to it, and I think she saw that. "I'm not her," she said once, out of nowhere. "I know," I answered. And I did. Deeply. Fully. But something strange started happening. Camille began texting me again. The first one was a photo, my old hoodie, folded on a chair in what I recognized as her new apartment. "Left this here. Want it back." I didn't respond. 2 days later. "Saw your little LinkedIn update. Glad you finally got some recognition." I ignored that too. Then she called. It rang 5 times. I let it go to voicemail. 30 minutes later, a voice message. Her tone was calm, friendly, almost nostalgic. "Hey, Adam. Just saw something that reminded me of you. Hope you're doing okay. You always were really good at bouncing back." I guess I just never said that. Anyway, I was thinking, maybe we could talk sometime. Not about us. Just life. I listened to it 3 times. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't asking forgiveness. She was circling back. The way narcissists do when they sense they've lost control of the narrative. I didn't reply. not out of pettiness, out of self-respect, because I didn't need closure from the person who broke me. I'd already found it in the silence, the stillness, the slow rebuilding of a life that finally felt like it belonged to me. One night, I told Harper everything. Not just the affair, but the embarrassment, the small humiliations, the way Camille used to dismiss my ideas with fake laughs, and that's cute, babe. The night she came home late and made me feel insane for asking where she'd been. The birthdays she forgot. The anniversary she downgraded to takeout in silence. Harper didn't interrupt. She just reached across the table, took my hand, and said, "You're not crazy. You just finally woke up." And in that moment, I realized something that shook me to my core. I wasn't healing from her. I was healing from me, from the version of myself that accepted all of it, that tried to love someone through their own cruelty, that stayed silent while I was slowly erased. And that version? He was gone now. Forever.